after that, all that stuff, did you try and redress it? Now or since?
Yeah, basically, not so long ago now, I started having caught my eye and so on that song, No to Steal. Somebody put it out again, posted it on YouTube, and I thought, I'm just fed up with this. So I wrote to YouTube and I said, look, can you take this down? This person obviously hasn't got any rights to put it up. Don't want it there. It's garbage. Take it down.
Yeah.
And they wrote back and they went, oh well, can you confirm you've got the rights to do this and so on and so forth. I said, yeah, I do. Because I'm the singer in the band and all the rest of it. And so yeah, take it down. And they wrote back and they went, oh well, we investigated this and you don't have any rights. And we're going to ban you from YouTube forever for the rest of your life. Don't even think about trying to register another YouTube account because, well, no, you can't do it unless you want to appeal. So I'll appeal because this is definitely all right. So I wrote more or less the same thing again. This person does not. They're spreading hate. This is a bad song. And they don't have any rights. They can't possibly have any rights. So take it down. I definitely accept all the results. Blah 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 blah. And then they wrote back and went, we reviewed your appeal and same decision, basically, you own your rights, so basically, that's it, you're done forever on you. I don't use YouTube very much, I haven't got a YouTube channel, I mainly opened it for my kids' things up years ago, so I'm not overly worried about it. I don't do a lot of social media anyway.
Right.
But nonetheless, that really was a lesson to me that, I was told, you've got no rights to the song, forget it. You can't do anything with it.
In a way, it goes to show that there's nothing wrong with that song to indicate that it's a extremist or far right whatever song.
Yeah. I mean, there was nothing in that much. I mean, it was an anti-American song. It was not it was an anti-American song, basically about America, cultural imperialism, taking over the country, the rest of it.
Well, it's the same period when Frankie Goes Hollywood with the two tribes, isn't it?
Yeah,
I know they're a bit late. But
well, the Clash done a song I'm so bored of the USA. Exploited did fuck the USA.
Exactly. Well, good point. Actually, good point. But I mean, it's going back to what I said earlier. You won't find any racist nonsense in any of our lyrics. No. You won't find it, not a hint of it. So the idea is nonsense, really.
I mean, I looked up because obviously, I since doing the Skinhead reunion, I've introduced lots of new young bands into the scene. I've dug up old bands, encouraged old bands to reform and and play all the music I love, basically, and especially bands that have disappeared off the map. The bands, I wonder whatever became of them. And like Steve has been a friend of mine for a few years, and so I think it's important, and I totally agree with you in that when you look at the social media and when you look at your video, well, not your videos, but your songs that are up there, and you see all these comments underneath from most oftenly anonymous profiles that you don't know who these people are saying what they do, so they're talking with all conviction, and then and they're called like Boots of so and so, or I'm being told all the time. I had one this morning, Pete Hunt, whoever that means, P-E-A-T Hunt, telling me, calling me all sorts of names, and it's like, who are you? You look on their page, there's no photographs, no nothing, and these social media companies, they've just got this free reign to destroy people's lives, and what can happen is that, in your case, it destroyed your band, your teenage band, but in some cases that can destroy people's lives, because people can, you do something when you're a 17-year-old and someone puts it up there, and then the media jump on it, and imagine if you've gone on to something, you become an MP, or you become or a charity aid worker, or anything that can affect them in such a massive way. And that's how it's all gone, isn't it? Well, we were manipulated in those days, whereas now it's just a totally different ball game, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. You're right. It can really affect you. And I have had friends over the years and so on who have had faced mental issues and challenges and so on for stuff and so on and so forth. And if you're not careful, it can really affect you badly. I mean, we've stayed friends over the years despite it and so on. And we have thought a couple of times in the past about should we do something again? And we thought, could we put up with all that bullshit again? And that's prevented us from really trying to do anything.
Social media these days, I mean, we now have a voice to sort of stick up for ourselves, or or tell the truth, because we didn't have that back in them days,
No.
Before the internet, nothing.
Yeah, exactly. And as you said, none of these people know us. They never spoke to us.
Of course they don't.
They've never actually asked us anything at all. And thanks for this opportunity for this interview. Because it's the first opportunity that we've really had, we've taken up to address some of this stuff, and we just had to sit there over the years and just see it come up from time to time. But those of us that know, those people that know us, I mean, who back in the day were with us and so on and so forth, they know it's all nonsense. To be honest with you.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And we sit down in the pub sometimes when we get together, and the lads, and they go, God, what's this nonsense? Who's this idiot saying this? Who's that idiot saying? I've no idea, and so on. But anybody who knows us, knows the truth.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
I mean, Madness, I worked with them for a long time, and very good friends of mine, and they went through it, because they're friends, and they were hooligans, and Tugsy went out to Chelsea, and and there was all this stuff, but they addressed it because they carried on with it, and they made some songs. Remember that one? It's all eggs, bacon, beans, and a fried slice. That was all about that. So it means it's bollocks, basically.
Yeah.
And they made a few songs about it, and they stayed out of the politics.
Yeah.
Always. I mean, they got into politics a little bit in the 80s when they started doing the sort of Freemason Mandela era for a little while, and that caused them a bit of friction.
Yeah.
But no, they always stayed non-political, whereas I think, politics changes, doesn't it? And as it goes throughout the decades and the different times, what meant something, we were talking about the Cold War. What does it mean today to somebody who wasn't even born then? They don't even understand it.
And they're the ones that put the comments on
and
YouTube.
After you touched on then that you worked with the Mujahideen, which obviously was Western backed, to fight the Russian invasion of Afghanistan. I mean, that's a major thing. And where did you go after that?
After that, what did I do after that? Basically after that, I actually did a trip out to Thailand,
right?
Where I spent some time with my freelance photojournalist head on,
right,
with the Thai Rangers, Thai Army Rangers. So I was with them when they were fighting the Vietnamese on the Thai-Cambodian border, photographing that for a bit. And then after that I joined the regular army, went around the place there. And ultimately, I kind of found myself in Bosnia, which is where I finally left the regular army, as it were. And then I was basically, I was working for a human rights team, and I was basically exhuming dead bodies from the Bosnian War.
Wow.
So about 2.5, nearly 3 years, and I recovered the remains of about 1,000 people.
Wow.
It's pretty grim, identifying them. But it was also very rewarding work, to be honest with you, because you got to return remains to people and so on, so that they could then, get over the loss, and they could start the grieving process and so on. Plus, they could also, address issues like administrative stuff, like you get a death certificate, so that you can get pensions properly sorted out and so on and so forth. And so I worked with the various commissions there, and so again saw the bad side of hate, if you know what I mean.
God, that's the real where it really ends up, isn't it? And the Bosnian War, it was the Serbians and
Serbs, Croats, and Bosnian Muslims. Basically. So three communities locked in combat with each other and so on. Yeah, it was pretty grim.
I went over there quite recently, actually, and we were staying in this little town. There was a little school right next to where we were staying, and I got talking to a woman who worked for the UN, and she was out there. And I said, this all seems nice. She said, well, actually, it looks it, but literally it could go like that. Because the school where I was, apparently the Muslim kids went to school in the morning, and I suppose it's Christians or whatever, they went to school in the afternoon. So they didn't mix them. Even and they just looked like normal little kids. So they've still got this segregation going on that you wouldn't even know, So, And so then after Bosnia, you don't need to go through the whole list. You don't need to. It's just like it's interesting to see that from my point of view, because I think what I love is that we all came from the working class council estates, and I was very typical. I left school with no education, became a hod carrier, learned to lay bricks. And then my lucky break was I met a guy and got into television acting work. And it wasn't not massively successful, but I had a brilliant time. I spent 20 years doing little bit parts and basically not working and having great fun, But the point is, very few of my friends found opportunities, beyond the normal. Do you know what I mean? Some of them became reasonably successful builders or whatever. But I love it when I meet somebody like yourself that's gone on and done something quite amazing. And I know probably it's just your career, it's just taking you the way it has. Nowadays, you have been. And I mean, what I find lovely now is when I go around the world and I'm meeting all these sort of skinhead and punk lot around the world, the younger generation, a lot of them have taken our imagery and our music and our inspiration. And I'll meet these young lads who are like architects, doctors, nurses, engineers, you know, like really educated, especially in South America. You know, they're beautiful looking girls who have got like degrees in all sorts of psychology and work for the Colombian government, and they're skinhead girls. You know, I love it. You know, and so that's where it's the reality is where it's gone, and there has been a few flowers that have bloomed out of our scene. You know.
Yeah, I mean, I was lucky enough to spend 5 years in Ukraine. Working out there until just before the invasion, and Ukraine has got some fantastic bands. With you. And I remember being in Kiev and other cities out there.
Yeah.
And some really awesome rock bands and some punk bands and so on there and so on. One of my favourite ones is a band called the Mad Heads.
Right.
Really, really good.
Well, from Ukraine.
Yeah.
Right.
And a big band. I mean, they're a general rock band, but they're pretty good. Okeanis Alizi, really super band as well.
Yeah, right.
And so on. In fact, the lead singer of them is actually in the Ukrainian army now, part-time as well. So you got so it's some real crossovers.
Yeah. I've sponsored a girl from Ukraine, and she's a singer. Actually, she was in a band called the Kiev All Girls Ska Orchestra. I might be able to work with it. You know, like get them some songs written and do something with because they had the talent, you know, to play. Yeah. But obviously, then the war broke out, so I ended up sponsoring the singer to come and live in England. You know, because she was bombed out, obviously. You know. So there is they're real talent. Yeah,
some good quality stuff there actually.
Okay, so what about the future then? I mean, with the band, are you thinking of doing some gigs, or what are you thinking?
Well, it'd be quite nice to try and reform.
Yeah, I mean, Steve's still a powerhouse, songwriting powerhouse, and he's only gotten better and better, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I mean, we did actually get together about 5 years ago or something or other in a studio.
Yeah.
And we recorded, I think, 4 new songs and so on.
We did, yeah.
And
an album. We actually done an album.
We did, yeah.
Some singles, yeah.
Yeah, on Evil Records.
Evil Records from Spain, Madrid.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
How did that go?
It's good.
Yeah, really good. Yeah, sold out. I think it's got 500 copies.
Really? So in Spain?
Yeah,
well, across Europe, I suppose.
Across Europe, yeah. He came to us and said,
Yeah, because I think there's someone on eBay or Discogs.
Right.
USA, Colombia, going for silly money.
And that went out as ABH?
He did it as a full album, because he wanted to said, I'd like to release stuff from bands that never really got a proper hit.
Yeah, absolutely,
so what have you got? So we gave him the tapes that we had, which didn't include that one, because we don't apparently own it or anything to do with it. It's not ours apparently, thank God.
Yeah.
But anyway, but we then needed to top it up with a few extra songs.
Yeah, right.
So Steve produced some great stuff, and then we got together and recorded it, and put that out and so on. So that kind of gave a bit of an oomph. Like we really enjoyed that. We really enjoyed it. You know. Yeah. And so maybe we can do something. You know, again.
Yeah. And what advice would you give to yourself if you spoke to that 17-year-old kid from wherever? What would you advise?
It's a difficult one because I mean, living in a rural part of the UK, we saw the bright lights of London as to speak, and. It's a difficult. We were naive.
Yeah.
But we didn't have the experience. We didn't know anything different. So it's a difficult one to say.
I just did 2 things. One is like words of President Obama.
Yeah.
Which he basically said, "Don't do stupid stuff." Which I think is really good advice. Politicians.
The 7-year-old kids can listen to that.
That's political advice. But advice everybody: just don't do stupid stuff. And the second thing is, basically make sure you've got full ownership and rights to whatever you do. And you control it.
Yeah.
That's what you've got to do, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I said, don't be naive. Don't listen to someone who's saying, it'll be all right. Because, sometimes it's not all right.
Yeah. And I mean, on a more of a serious note, because of like the way you got, obviously, roped into that whole right-wing thing, which completely destroyed the skinhead scene. Totally, it upset the punk scene, almost destroyed that, because any band that had played with this one, some bass player once played with that one, played with that one, we were all interlinked. You know that 7 degrees of separation? We were all like 2 degrees of separation. So we were all in the same room as different people, and so they can always pin something on somebody because you happen to be somewhere at some time. It was all bullshit. And I think it's important, because one thing that I think is on quite a serious note about all this is what's the word for it? When they sort of recruit people into extremist groups as young people. Nowadays you had ISIS, you've had the 80s it was the IRA, it was the right-wing extremists, the left-wing extremists, and that whole thing. I mean, I think talking as grown-ups now, people old enough to be grandparents, is that when you look at these young people now being manipulated into knife gangs or whatever it may be, who think, you know, yeah, we're drill music, we know the ting and all that, and it's where we were then, a different era.
Yeah.
But I think the advice to young people watching this is that this can haunt you for the rest of your life.
Yeah, definitely.
And the carnage that can come from it. Now, I mean, we all got out of it quite safely. We're all sitting here.
Yeah,
there was a lot of people who didn't.
Yeah,
there was a lot of people who didn't. You know, they ended up jail, they ended up suicide, they ended up being murdering. You know, it was quite horrendous, wasn't it? On a deeper level for many people. I mean, you probably didn't touch because you said you're out of London a bit. You know.
Yeah.
I think to be honest with you, that one of the things that probably saved us, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
We were out of London. We had that. I mean, obviously it was difficult because we were remote from London. We didn't have that experience, etc. But also, I think you're right. Actually, it probably did insulate us a bit.
Yeah.
But then we went off and did other stuff, you know, and which we were fortunate enough to be able to do. But it was always in the back there. And I have to say, you know, a few times in my life, when people have come to me, I said, you know, what did you do back in the day? I thought, should I tell them? Should I not tell them? You know, because I just don't want to, you know, go through all that and dig it all up again, you know, and so on. So,
And it's nice. It's nice to say that we had vinyl and stuff, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, it's your creative art as a kid, and it's great to have that. And it's great to celebrate.
And those songs were good.
They were good. They were very good. Yeah, they were very good. Yeah. I mean, I've you know, as a skinhead and becoming a bit of a spokesperson for over the years, I've actually lost jobs for it. Because I've been working with bands, you know, from America or whatever, and then some tour manager said to me, "Oh, you know, can you work with us permanently and all that?" This happened a couple of years ago. I was working with, I can't remember the name of the band now, but there was some American-based sort of soul-y type thing, and they were very right on, you know, quite left wing, you know, in a modern way. And they asked me to work with them permanently, and the girl who was the tour manager asked for my social media. She went on the social and saw this skinhead stuff, and they dropped me. And they didn't tell me why, but it was obviously right. So she said, "Oh, what's all this skinhead stuff?" I said, and I explained. And she went, "Oh, that's fine." No more phone calls, and so it does affect you even at our age.
Well, it does. And the other thing as well is, you know, if we did do anything anywhere at all, what we are a bit worried about, concerned about, is if somebody, you know, who did have those leanings, generally were that, but they would come up to us and somehow sort of like, you know, try and hero worship us and said, "Oh, you were." No, we weren't. Don't do that. You know, exactly. If you're expecting us to, then just go somewhere else. Basically, so that has also caused us a bit. That's also given us second and third thoughts. We're like doing something again.
Well, I mean,
because we don't want anyone like that coming up to us and saying that,
good to have you back.
Yeah, good to have you back. You are my hero.
Oh,
I'm not your hero, pal.
No, I mean, I won't name the bands, but I've had a few guys that were in the big oi bands that won't reform because of that.
Yeah, really.
They won't, because it's like, they'd love to, but they just don't want any part of that anymore. It was a time, and that was that, you know.
I mean, that has been in the back of our mind, more than the back, to be honest with you. Sometimes it's one of the reasons why we've not really necessarily crossed that line before and so on. But I think we'd be interested in doing it. But but that has, you know, it did destroy us then, and it's definitely held us back from, you know, getting back together. Probably, you know, another way.
Because Google takes no prisoners, unfortunately. It finds these anonymous accounts and takes the word of somebody who's written a book somewhere who doesn't even know anything about anything. He wasn't even born at the time. But I think that's about everything, chaps. So
thank you for your time. I really appreciate it.
Hopefully we've got something good there.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.